Hey gang, Stephen Marshall, KYLandlordlaw.com, back with another update. Hope you've gotten your new year off to a good start. We have had a number of new developments in the rental industry, so I wanted to update you on where things stand here as we close out the first month of 2021. As most of you probably know right now, the CDC's Eviction Moratorium has been extended. In my last update, back in late December, I noted that President Biden was almost certainly to seek an extension of the moratorium. And in fact, on his first day in office, January 20th, he did sign an executive order asking the CDC to extend their moratorium through March 31st, 2021. And shortly thereafter, they issued a media statement stating that they had done so. So, March 31st is our new deadline for the eviction moratorium. Now, if you've been watching the news, you know that President Biden has asked Congress to extend the moratorium through September 30th of this year. Now, Congress hasn't taken action on that request at this point, but you definitely want to keep your eye on what they're doing. And in the meantime, you've just got to plan that the moratorium is not going to be lifted anytime soon. And certainly not by March 31st of this year. But keep an eye on Congress to see what they do. That's the bad news. Good news is, as I also mentioned in my last update, Congress did allocate $25 billion in rental assistance, and that was approved in late December. President Biden has asked Congress to allocate another $30 billion, but that has not been addressed yet by Congress. So of the $25 billion that was approved in late December, the state of Kentucky is set to get just under $297 million. The city of Lexington will be receiving $9.6 million of that amount. Now, things will be a little bit different this time around on rental assistance in that they're trying to do it more by cities and counties individually. Lexington and Louisville will have their own separate funds, and tenants in those areas will not be eligible for state funds. Now, that could change if the funds that have been allocated to those cities and counties get depleted. They can ask for more of the state money. But as it stands, tenants in Lexington and Louisville will have to seek local funding that has been received from the state rather than going through the state fund, which last time was through the Healthy at Home Eviction Relief Fund. I was in on a Zoom call with the Lexington city officials earlier this week and got some information on the rollout of that assistance program. And there are two primary qualifiers here in Lexington, and that is that a tenant must have a household income that is no more than 80% of the area median income. Okay, I think I told you in the last update that is somewhere around $55,000 in Lexington. It may be lower than that for 2020. So that's the first qualifier. Household income that's no more than 80% of the area median income. And then second, they have to be able to document a direct or indirect impact from COVID. Now, that probably won't be much of a problem for tenants, but the thing is they have to be able to document it. Okay, they can't just say, yes, I've been impacted. So those are the two qualifiers for tenants to be eligible to receive rental assistance. The thought is that assistance is going to start as soon as Monday, February 1st, and it's going to be done through the Community Action Council in Lexington. And applications may be made through the current website, which is covid19renterhelp.org, which I'll link in the blog post that accompanies this video. That website, if you get on it, it actually redirects to the city website, which shows a number of resources. But that's the place to go for applications or directly over the phone to the Community Action Council. So here are some details of the program. It's going to be a little bit different this time around. They are going to be able to pay up to 12 months of back rent. When the program was rolled out before, there was a cap on the amount that you could receive, either $6,500 or $4,000. There's no cap on back rent. The only cap is that they'll only go back, I think, through March 20th of 2020. So basically, any rent that's accrued from April 20th through the present, or excuse me, April 2020 through the present, would be eligible to be reimbursed, up to 12 months. They will also pay up to 3 months of future rent, and again, with no cap on the amount. So if 3 months of rent is, $3,600, or if 3 months rent is $1,500, they'll pay up to 3 months of future rent in addition to the 12 months of back rent. Now, there are strings attached, as there were last time, but the strings are a little bit less onerous this time. Landlords are still going to be required to waive late fees, penalties, and interest on the rent in order to receive the assistance. And this is a change. They must agree to wait 45 days after the last month for which assistance was received before filing a new eviction, and they must send out a 30-day notice to pay or vacate during that 45-day period. Now, the local requirements last time was a 90-day waiting period. So that's been cut in half, and it's been made to match the 45-day waiting period that came along with accepting the state funds, the Healthy at Home funds, last fall. So 45-day waiting period after the last month for which assistance was received, and give a 30-day notice to pay or vacate. The other requirements, the tenants must not have any material lease violations in order to receive assistance. They don't want tenants who are in violation of their lease receiving the assistance if the landlord plans on turning around and filing an eviction based on material noncompliance with the lease. So no current material lease violations for the tenants. And then it's not available yet, but landlords will be able to apply for assistance on behalf of their tenants. Okay? The tenants are still going to have to sign the application. They are still going to have to document their eligibility for the program, but landlords will be able to initiate that program on behalf of their tenants. That option is not yet available, but it will be in the coming days and weeks. So, going to be a lot of money available throughout the state, and a lot of money available in Lexington. The state funds will probably not be promoted until March. Okay, rolling that program out is going to take a bit more time, but there'll be more details that will develop over the next few weeks, and I'll certainly pass those along as they develop. Other news this week, President Biden also signed a new executive order that reinstates the concept of disparate impact discrimination, sometimes also called discriminatory effects discrimination. So a new executive order on fair housing. Now, when we think of housing discrimination, most of us typically think of some type of intentional discrimination against a member of a protected class. Disparate impact discrimination is different. It happens when you have a policy that is neutral on its face. Okay, it applies to everyone regardless of class status. It doesn't single out any particular class on its face or by its terms. But the impact of that policy, or the effect of that policy, is to disproportionately harm a certain protected class. That's when disparate impact discrimination kicks in. And we usually see that arise in familial status situations, where a landlord may have a rule like no tricycles on the property. Now, that rule applies to everyone equally. Okay, it doesn't, by its terms or on its face, discriminate against any protected class. But once you put that rule into effect, families with children are disproportionately harmed by it. And so it would be an example of disparate impact discrimination. Now, this is a new rule in that this rule was rescinded by the Trump administration in 2016. But it was in effect prior to 2016, so in that sense, it's not really a new rule. I've got a number of articles that I've written on disparate impact discrimination. I'm going to link those in the blog post that accompanies this video. It's a very important concept to understand, especially in the tenant selection process. HUD has given some pretty clear guidance through the years that tenant selection policies must not be too broad or too exclusionary, because broad policies that end up excluding too many groups unnecessarily end up having a disproportionately adverse effect on certain protected classes. So you want to make sure that you take a look at those articles. Okay, if you need help designing your resident selection policy, make sure that you reach out to your friendly neighborhood attorney. You can reach me at 859-685-0035 or via email at smarshall@trippleslaw.com if you have questions or need help with anything. So that's plenty for today. There will certainly be more news on these assistance programs as they develop, but there's going to be a lot of money coming into the city of Lexington and the state of Kentucky. So keep that in mind as you're working things through with your tenant. Hope you guys have a great day.